All right, welcome back to the Adobe After Effects tutorial with Mr. Will. Thanks for joining me. This segment, we're going to segue out of basic animations and we're going to talk about some features of Adobe After Effects for creating effects. One of the main features of Adobe After Effects is the Roto Brush 3.0 tool right now. Think Adobe Photoshop, think the magic wand, the quick selection, the lasso tool, the object selection tool. Think all of those tools wrapped up in one for video. All right, it allows you to create cool effects. It allows you to place 3D objects behind subjects, text behind subjects. It allows you to remove a subject from the background. It does a lot of cool things. So without further ado, let's jump into this. But before we do, make sure that you're following along. All right, to follow along in this tutorial, what you'll need to do is you'll need to find a 5-second clip of something, just for tutorial sake, that you want to remove your subject from the background. If you don't have anything, all you can do is just simply pick up your cell phone, set it down, hit record yourself in front of the camera, maybe doing something like this, or just standing like this, or like sitting like this for about 5 to 10 seconds. All right, once you get that clip record it, go ahead and upload it into After Effects and follow along. It only takes 5 to 10 seconds. All right, so get that done, follow along, pause the video, take as long as you need to learn this. All right, take your learning into your own hands. All right, so breathe easy. I want you to get comfortable, because once you get comfortable, you'll be more confident, and once you're confident, your content quality will continue to improve. All right, so without further ado, let's jump into this tutorial. All right, so we have a new project selected. So what I want to do is I want to create a new composition from footage, because there's footage that I want to remove my subject from the background. All right, so I'm going to double click in composition. I'm going to come and find the footage, and I'm going to hit open. All right, so as you see, After Effects has brought in the clip, and it is also has been brought into the timeline, which is displayed here in the composition panel. All right, so the Roto Brush tool. Again, the Roto Brush tool is used for removing your subject from the background, duplicating your subject. You can use it for multiple uses, and we'll show you here in this tutorial. So what we want to start off by doing, we are here in the Adobe After Effects interface. I'm going to start off by coming to the top. I'm going to click Window, come down to Workspace, make sure all panels is checked, right? And I'm going to scroll down to Reset All Panels to Save Layout. All right, so let's do that again. Come to Windows, scroll down to Workspace, make sure all panels is checked, come down to Reset All Panels to Save Layout, and now we're all looking at the same interface. All right, so I have my clip imported into After Effects. You have your clip now imported into After Effects. Let's get busy. So what we want to do is we're talking about the Roto Brush tool. The Roto Brush tool is located in the toolbar panel up top. Okay, it is this icon. It's like a person and a brush together, and once you hold the mouse over top, it'll say the Roto Brush tool. All right, so if you click and hold that, you'll see the Roto Brush tool and then the Refine Edge tool. Okay, the Refine Edge tool just allows you to, again, refine the edges. All right, it's not that difficult to decipher once you just kind of take a look at what it is. All right, it just helps you refine your edges. So what we want to do is make sure that the Roto Brush tool is selected. All right, so notice I have the Roto Brush tool selected. How do we know that? It is indicated by being highlighted in blue up top here in the in the toolbar panel. So when you come into the composition, you'll notice that you do not have, it's just the arrow selection is still here. You cannot use the Roto Brush tool directly into the composition. If you go ahead and click on it, it'll tell you that. It'll give you a prompt that says that you cannot work directly into the composition layer. How do you get the Roto Brush tool to work? You click down here in the timeline panel and you come on the layer. All right, you click on the layer, you double click on the layer. What you'll notice is that a new tab appeared. All right, and this is essentially we are just locking in on the layer. All right, so you have your layer, and then you have the composition layer. So we have the Roto brush tool now active. All right, we are in the direct layer. So we have the Roto brush tool active. To increase the size of your Roto brush tool, what you do is you hold down Command and you click the mouse and you just drag up and down with your mouse. All right, it'll allow you to toggle the size. All right, so how the Roto brush tool works, again, think Photoshop. All right, so all I'm gonna do, let me go ahead and adjust the size of my brush just a little bit smaller. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna click and hold my mouse and just kind of paint within the boundaries of where my subject is. All right. Okay, so as you see, once I let go of the mouse, you should see a magenta selection highlighted around my subject. All right, so what you'll notice is that it's not perfect, okay? So let's go ahead and refine that. How do we refine that? How do I subtract this area right here? What you do is you hold down the option button, and as soon as you push in the option key, you'll see that now the icon turned red. All right, so that it means negative. So we want to take away from the selection. So I'm gonna just kind of come closer to my subject's arm and then let go. All right, as you see, it snapped a new selection into place, giving me a better look that a desired look that I'm looking for. So I'm going to continue to refine this. I'm going to hold option and I'm going to take away from the selection. All right, we're going to refine this just a little bit better. All right, and then we're going to just keep refining. Oops. All right. Okay. So how do we get a clear look at what we have selected? All right, we don't want to make mistakes, or we just, for time's sake purposes, for time flow, we want to make sure that we're doing everything right. What you can do in the composition panels, you come down here to these icons. All right, it says toggle alpha boundary, and toggle alpha overlay. What you want to do is you want to click toggle alpha overlay, and everything in red is what's selected within the magenta selection boundaries. Okay, so this gives you a perfect view of what you have selected. So I'm going to toggle back. I see that I have some areas that I can refine, so I'm going to click in the zoom tool and I'm going to zoom in just a little bit closer, and I'm going to come back to my roto brush tool, and then I'm going to select the areas that I missed. All right, and then we're going to refine some of the areas that we don't want. So I'm going to take away from the selection. We're going to separate her arm from the background. All right, and then I'm going to come back to zoom and come in here and click back on 100%. All right, so what this clip is, it's a clip of my daughter playing high school basketball. Proud dad moment. She got a full ride scholarship to the University of Purdue, so definitely happy about that. All right, so anyway, we have our selection, our subject selected. All right, so what do we do next? I'm going to simply hit the space bar. All right, and I'm going to watch the roto brush tool do its thing. All right, so to make sure everything is the way you want it, you might want to go frame by frame and make sure that the roto brush has not made any mistakes. All right, it kind of lost the ball here, but that's okay. Just for time's sake, we're going to keep going. Everything around the selection looks okay, except right about here. Like, what is this extra area right here? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the size of my roto brush. All right, and then we're going to hold the option key and we're going to take away this little extra additives right there. All right, that looks a lot better. So we're going to keep coming. Still looking good. I'm okay with this. The Roto Brush tool does a great job. All right, so this is a good clip to show you like the Roto Brush tool. All right, so let's go ahead and refine this area right here. All right, we want to here. Let's definitely refine around the edges. We don't want to pick up his arm. All right. We're just refining the edges right now. Refining the edges right now, okay? As you see, I have to make some more corrections to this, but that's okay because we want it to look good. All right, so we're almost getting there. We're almost getting there. All right, let's go ahead and just refine this leg area right here just a little bit more, and then take away this weird spot right there. Okay. That looks good. We're gonna keep going. So in this sequence, we see the referee gets in the way of the subject. The Roto Brush tool actually does a great job of keep tracking the subject. At least it has her leg. So what I want to do is make sure I come into the composition and get rid of the extra selected areas that we clearly do not need. All right, so I'm holding Option and I am getting rid of these selections. All right. Okay. So we'll refine the leg just a little bit. Oh, it's a little bit too much. We'll cut it off right there. All right, that looks better. We'll keep tracking. All right, so that's fine. Oh, we get to right here. Let's refine this. All right, as you see, it takes some refining. All right, the Roto Brush tool isn't perfect, but it's quick and easy once you get into your flow and you just understand how easy it is to edit once you just get comfortable with the controls. All right, so you definitely want to get comfortable with the controls. All right, so we'll keep refining. All right. Keep refining. All right, so there's a few areas that we can improve on right here. Oops. So, all right, there's the arm. All right, pretty good job. Let's get the head back in here. Pretty good job. All right. And it does a good job of picking her back up. All right, so I went through frame by frame and did some refining.
I made this ain't what you want, I brought the blood.
All right.
He had the chance to tell them niggas he gave them up.
All right, so once we are happy with our selection, okay, once you come into the composition panel, you want to click freeze. All right, once you like what you see, you want to click freeze. And by freezing the composition, you're telling After Effects you are happy with the selection. If you do not do this, After Effects will continue to analyze the selection in the background, which will slow down your workflow. All right, it will slow down your workflow like exponentially. So when you hit freeze, it is telling After Effects that you are happy with the selection. So if you go back over and you realize that you need to do some refining, just go ahead and uncheck the freeze box and go ahead and make those adjustments and go ahead and make sure that you hit freeze again, or else it'll just run a lot of background tasks and it'll slow your workflow down. All right, so let's go ahead and toggle the overlay. And so we see now what our selection is. So I'm going to bring it back to the beginning of the composition, and I'm going to click back into the main composition layer, and that is the results right here. All right, that's how you remove your subject from the background. So let's build upon that. Let's add a couple lines to this. All right, let's add some of the features that we worked on in our tutorials. So I'm going to click the pen tool in the toolbar panel, and I'm going to select a point, and then I'm going to come down here and select another point. All right, so you see I have a line. Let's undo that path real quick. Start over. All right, so we have our background, our subjects. So we have our subject removed from the background. What we want to do, let's come down into the timeline panel, unclick on the layer. We're going to come up to the pen tool, click on the pen tool, and then we're going to come into the composition, and I'm going to create a line. All right. Hold the shift key, and then you see we have a line created, and then it created a shift layer. All right, what I want to do, let's show you some cool effects. I'm going to expand the shift layer, and I'm going to add a repeater. All right, so a repeater is just what it says. It allows you to repeat the lines. All right, so we're going to go a few lines over. Also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down, and I'm going to make those lines zigzags. Okay. Then I want to add trim paths. All right, so I'm going to come back down to the layer, expand the trim path, and scroll down to take the beginning time to 0 because we don't want to display the lines just yet. So we're going to click the stopwatch, creating keyframes. We're going to move forward in the composition a little bit, and then we're going to increase the start value. All right, and then we're going to move forward a frame and then increase the end value. All right, as you see, it's creating keyframes, and then we want to increase the offset value. All right, so I'm going to come forward again. I'm going to increase the start value, move forward a frame, increase the end value, and then increase the offset value. Going forward again, increase the start value, move forward and increase the end value, and then also the offset. All right, and I'm going to repeat, increase the start value, move forward a frame, increase the end value, and then move forward a frame and then increase the offset. All right, then I'm going to move forward again. Oops, I didn't set a keyframe, so I had to go back a frame. I'm going to move forward, increase the offset, move forward again, increase the offset. And as you see, the offset keeps the animation going, and I'm going to increase the offset. I don't have the end value fully at 100% because I want to keep the length of the line the same as I keep moving on the timeline, increasing the offset value. All right, and let's just say right around here, I want to toggle down the opacity. All right, so I'm gonna come a frame in front of this, and then I'm gonna turn the opacity back up. All right, so I'm gonna come back down here into the timeline panel, and then I'm going to close the layer. I'm going to put the video layer over top of the shape layer, and then come into the timeline panel and hit the space bar.
I made this ain't what you want, I brought.
All right, so you see you can get some super cool effects. All right, so let's keep going. Let's add another layer. New. Let's go solid. All right, and we're just say we're going to add some radio waves to this. Okay, going to label it radio waves. Actually, let's come down here and let's come up to, yeah, create a new layer, solid radio waves. Come up to effect, come down to generate, and we're going to select radio waves. All right, so with the radio waves, I'm going to make sure I change my anchor point to the subject, okay? And then we're going to set our producer point, and we begin the animation. You see the radio waves begin, and so we want to make sure we are tracking we want to make sure we're tracking the radio waves. All right, so I keep setting tracking points. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shift the layer right down on top, and let's go ahead and
I made this ain't what you want, I brought the blood. He had it.
all right, so that is how you use the Roto brush tool. All right, so let's go ahead and keep going. All right, so let's take this back to our first composition. Let's take it back to like where we first started. Now, so I'm gonna get rid of the previous shape layers. All right, and then I'm going to duplicate this layer. All right, so click on the layer and I'm going to press Command D. All right, so the new layer that's created is right here. Okay, so I'm going to expand that layer, and I'm going to come down to effects, and I'm going to select the delete button. All right, so the Roto brush layer is on top, and then the solid layer with no Roto brush effect is on the bottom. All right, so let's create a text effect to this. All right, so I'm going to come into the timeline panel. I'm just going to click to select off the layers. I'm going to come up to the text, and I'm going to select text in the toolbar panel, and I'm going to come to the composition, and then I'm going to type. As you see, it created a type layer. So this is my daughter, her name is Sky. So I'm just going to type her name just for tutorial sake, and let's go ahead and move that around. Let's click on the layer. I'm going to type in S for scale. Let's scale it up a little bit, and then let's reposition it. All right, let's go ahead and change an anchor point. Let's put the anchor point on our subjects. All right, so next what we want to do is we want to come down to the timeline panel, select our top layer, which is the Roto brush tool, or you can select the text tool, the text layer, and just drag it down and put it in this in between the two layers. And now look what we generated. Text behind our subject. All right, that is an awesome next level effect to video content creation. All right, so take the time to practice this. Get comfortable, because as you get comfortable, you'll be more confident, and as you get more confident, your content quality will improve. So take the time you need to play with this. We'll see you soon.